As the winter anime season comes to a close and spring begins, there's plenty of new and exciting shows that I'm excited for. There's a new Steins Gate, a new FLCL, and a new Legend of Galactic Heroes of all things. But out of all of them, I am most excited for a new season of Full Metal Panic. But why is that? Steins Gate is easily one of my favorite visual novels. The FLCL soundtrack is forever imprinted on my mind, and Legend of Galactic Heroes is what I would consider one of the best science fiction anime. But Full Metal Panic stands out from all of them, and I think the answer is pretty simple. We never got to see them fuck. We never got to see them fuck. We never got to see them fuck. They never did it. We have been waiting for years just to see a soldier and a Japanese schoolgirl fuck. It's that simple. All the examples before I've listed have had satisfying conclusions that have wrapped up all of their loose ends. Full Metal Panic has had none of that. Making it to book 5 out of 11, there's no way it wrapped up everything. It leaves plenty of loose plot threads as it is, and more importantly, loose romantic plot threads. Just let me know that they got together. Just animate it. Come on. There is plenty left to weave a whole new season. And it's those loose ends that leave me wanting more from a series that probably wouldn't make it into my top 10 list. But to understand this, let's go into Full Metal Panic for a little bit. The first series starts out very strongly. It introduces us to a unique blend of high school romance and military science fiction that's pretty unique and pretty exploitable narratively. There's a lot of things that do the aspects of Full Metal Panic, and there's certainly things that do those aspects better. But there is nothing else that achieves quite the blend that Full Metal Panic does.
転校初日からこういうおもちゃを没収します。いえ、それはおもちゃでは殺傷力の高いスプラット弾が装填されています。非常に危険です。絶対にトリガーには触れないでください。軍事オタクよ。気持ち悪い。はいはい。分かったから。そうだね。
And this is greatly exemplified in the first arc. The tone and rules are set up here, and it gives the series plenty of room to explore its characters and settings. It can be a military science fiction show, it can then swing back to be a high school comedy. And although this gives it a wide array of potential stories, these two aspects have a tendency to clash horribly against each other, especially in this first season. And we see this very quickly in the second arc that feels rushed because it wastes an episode on high school filler. If the first arc was Full Metal Panic putting its best features forward, then this arc is easily Full Metal Panic displaying its worst. Antagonists are underdeveloped, and despite some decent mecha action at the end, it just leaves you feeling underwhelmed. But to be fair, the next two arcs that wrap up the first season make up for that shaky middle. The 3-part story, The Wind Blows at Home, being a standout, and for me, a peek at the quality that we would get later on. The first season ends well enough, but upon a recent rewatch, I would say it's just slightly above average for me. If I had to give a rating, which I don't usually do ratings out of 10, but I would put this around a 6 out of 10. And then we have the split. KyoAni takes over the animation for the next 2 seasons of FMP, giving us Fumoffu and the second raid. And here, the very selling point of Full Metal Panic, the mixture of rom-com and mech-dom, has been split in 2. While together these 2 elements gave us an okay series, the division actually makes Fumoffu and the second raid the best in their respective fields. While Fumoffu is easily one of the best high school comedy anime, the true continuation and the true successor to Full Metal Panic lies in the second raid. Gone is the mediocre Gonzo animation. The second raid looks so much better than anything that came before it. So much so that rewatching them back to back was extremely jarring. People's faces weren't melting in the background shots anymore. Mecha movement and action in general just feels a lot more natural with a higher animation budget. And that's just on a purely technical level. While still retaining some of the high school hijinks, the second raid focuses on the military aspects much more heavily. We start to see hints of political intrigue, well-choreographed fight scenes, and enough gun porn for any K-guy to get off to. But that's not all, because the second raid actually manages to flesh out the characters even more than a 26-episode anime already did. There's a more serious look at how dependent Chidori has gotten on Sosuke, and just how much closer Sosuke has gotten to her because of it. And to top it all off, there's a deliciously hammy antagonist. If nothing else, watch the second raid for this man alone, because he makes the series. The second raid manages to do what few anime sequels ever do. It elevates a series from a 6 out of 10 to an 8 out of 10. That's a huge leap in quality. I mean, if you can't tell, I assume you guys know numbers. And that's part of why people are so excited. The second raid turned out to be so well in comparison to what came before it that the next season had to be even better, right? The next season would be even better. People were excited for what this would be adapting because they would be waiting for the next 13 years. 13. People have been blueballed for years. People have died before this continuation came out. The impatient ones sought out the novels and their manga adaptation, Sigma. But for us filthy secondaries, we've been waiting quite a long time. And so at this point, we have had 2 episodes of Invisible Victory out. And it's been pretty good so far. It's going at a breakneck pace, but that is completely understandable given how much material they have left to cover. And from what I've heard, it intends to adapt the rest of the novels in a split core series. So we're talking like 12 episodes now, then 12 episodes next year, maybe. Don't quote me on this. Don't quote me on this, Anime News Network, because I know you will. So far, the animation hasn't been as nice as KyoAni, but it hasn't been as quality as some of the shots in Gonzo. The CGI mechs are still taking some getting used to. But if it continues at this pace, I think we're looking at something on par with the second raid. I've heard great things about Steins Gate Zero. I'm optimistic for more FLCL. New Legend of Galactic Heroes can burn in a fire, but that's not important because I've had endings for all 3 of them for years. I've seen where those stories and characters go. Full Metal Panic didn't have that, at least not in an animated form. And I'm excited to see where it ends up now that we're finally getting a continuation.